Welcome to Teams Tuesday, a podcast about mastering the best about what other people have already figured out. Teams Tuesday focuses on insights and lessons that never expire. You will walk away from every episode with actionable insights that help you get better results and be more productive.
This was about as bizarre and easy as it gets.
The client just couldn't make up their mind.
I feel like we had top.
Went from a project of 20 weeks to just 2.
The DevOps was a cultural shift.
This is Teams Tuesday with your host, Peter Ward.
Welcome to Teams Tuesday. It's November the 15th, 2022. We're coming up to the end of the year, I have to say, and got the great speaker today, actually. I'm really looking forward to this, David Parker, who's going to be talking about Visio. Now, Visio, I always think, is that on one note, is probably one of the unsung heroes of M365. Actually, so David, welcome to Teams Tuesday. How are you?
Hi, Peter. Getting a bit cold in the UK here at the moment. It just started to cool down.
All right. Okay. Basically, you live west of London. Is that correct? Am I correct on that?
Yeah. In commuting country. Yeah, just outside Reading.
Right.
Yeah, 40 miles west of London.
Okay. And your wife's Indian, where in India is she from?
Gujarat.
All right. So we actually have an office in Ahmedabad, actually. Well, my wife's heritage is Kerala, from the southern part.
Yeah, been there as well.
All right.
Very nice.
Very nice. Well, good. Right. Okay. And you're African. Where in Africa?
Uganda, Kampala, she was born. One of the Asians thrown out by Idi Amin.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, yeah. And now I have to say, you're like an 18-year MVP. I think that's a record, actually, for Teams Tuesday. I have to say, I'm only a 2-year MVP, but an 18-year, that is rather impressive. So you obviously got that on like your 14th birthday, I can tell you, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've just started shaving.
Okay, and making the hair grey as well, and
yeah, it's not grown yet. Yeah.
Very cool. So just tell me very quick before we kick into the Visio demo. Tell me something about yourself that not many people know.
Well, I used to play an awful lot of hockey, and I did end up having a trial for the under-19s England team, but the guy who was in the position I lost out to was a guy called Sean Curley, who became the hero of the 1980 Olympics when they got a bronze medal. So right. I wasn't quite good enough.
Okay, so of course you're showing your age here because the Olympics was in LA in '84. So I'm assuming, you're definitely showing your age in 1980.
84. Maybe I got the year wrong, but I'm getting old, you see. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So we're 1980. It was actually in Russia, wasn't it? The Moscow Olympics.
No. Yeah, I think it was the LA one. It's a long time ago. I'm seeing come on my third life by now. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. And so, in terms of you formed this company, which is predominantly focused on Visio, which is an interesting business model, actually. So, tell me a bit more about this in terms of what are the typical core challenges people have for you with Visio, and where do they hit you up for your services?
Gosh, well, I think a lot of people do have Visio. And I think a lot of them have an idea that it is quite powerful, but they don't know how to do it. So I'm getting quite a few calls, and I've never been so busy, to be honest, with people or companies who've got an idea that Visio could do something for them and come to me for a few ideas. And then quite often they go into little projects and sometimes big projects, right? Which is nice.
When you talk about that, are we talking about should we say, people designing like the server rooms, or we're talking about like facility management? Who are the kind of industries?
My background was in those areas, facilities management, because I used to be a building architect, and I got into buildings and asset tracking within buildings and cable management. So that's how I started. As I think yourself know, that Visio is so useful because you can connect to data and you can make it visualize data so easily, and you can customize it to suit your requirements. And I soon found that it was so easy to make these connections to databases and to update the diagrams on databases that I could apply that to almost anything. So I'm getting a lot of things that, one big project at the moment, for example, is to visualize extremely long and large construction schedules for hospitals in the US. And that's something that you can't normally see, if you like. It's better than a Gantt chart, let's say.
Because I remember, I'm looking at some of the notes of the questions I prepped you with. Like in SharePoint 2010, you had Visio services. I think you actually had that in 2007 as well. But did anyone ever use Visio services in SharePoint 2007?
No, I used to run training courses around Europe for Microsoft Visio, linking to Visio services in SharePoint. And there were some early adopters in that. And yeah, but it had its challenges. I think, as you've seen, as SharePoint's developed that and become modern SharePoint, things had to change.
Right.
So yeah, there were users, but not as extensive, I think, as Microsoft anticipated.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I remember Visio services was a bit of a memory hog in the on-prem version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of you're the Visio guy, you come into the SharePoint world. What would you say is perhaps one of the biggest mistakes people make that holds them back with SharePoint and Visio?
That people make.
People? You mean end users?
Users make. Well, I think Microsoft made a slight mistake, if you like, because we can't quite package everything nicely for a custom solution. So we have to adapt and work around. But we are able to provide, I think, quite nicely integrated data diagrams. I've done for a few large customers where all their process maps, if you like, process standard operating procedures are linked to SharePoint lists, for example, right? So, and have those with all the hyperlinks to all the documentation. I think one mistake people make is not realizing how it can be used as a visual navigation system for their SharePoint content. So I quite like the way that Visio can automatically create these hyperlinks to various documents within SharePoint and use that.
Are you talking about like a sitemap here?
A bit like a sitemap, but a visual one that you can drill down with. So you've got like an organization chart, if you like, of your processes, right? That you can go through into different parts of your sub-process, and you can reveal the bits of the process that are necessary for particular users to do their work. Right, it becomes a visual indexing system, basically.
Right. I totally hear you on that front. Okay. In terms of like the Visio, how well does it in terms of the Power BI? Is that ready for showtime?
I would say it is ready to be used, but you have to be aware of some of the current restrictions. For example, you can't put it into Power BI services, but you can create it in Power BI reports. All right, so I'm going to show an example of that actually as we get into the demo of how it can be very nicely integrated within Power BI reports.
Right. So one of the things which I'm finding with all these releases of particularly Outlook is that it's becoming more and more web friendly. Like I always find anyone in the office who's under 30 are using Outlook in the browser. Okay, if you're like an old timer like me and you probably use Outlook in the client. Okay, yeah. That's just like you don't like change. So in terms of desktop apps, like with Visio, is this ready for the browser or still, or is it getting there, or is it still desktop-y?
There is no doubt that most power is in the desktop. All right, but one of the good things that Microsoft did is release a Visio API basically for the viewer, which is basically the extension to the Office file viewer within SharePoint, and that is programmable. So you can create custom SharePoint web pages and Teams apps using that API, which was how we created the visual content navigator, if you like, for all of the process standard operating procedures. So it has got that great interface. Now you have got now 3 editions really of Creator Visio. Now you've got Visio in M365, which everybody gets, and you've got subscription level Visio Plan 1 and Visio Plan 2, and they have increasing amount of features within them. And I would say that Microsoft's efforts is quite rightly in making the web editor catch up with the desktop editor, but the desktop editor does have more power, and it has a lot of add-ins or add-ons available to it as well, which increases that power.
Right. Okay.
But I was going to say one of the best things is that the file format is usable all the way through all those editions. There's no change, there's no conversion to be made.
All right, so let's have a look at your demo then, okay, which I'm looking forward to. Visio is one of these things, like I always think I really need to bloody learn this tool actually on this. So one of the questions how do you really get started with Visio, like in the layman's way, apart from installing it on that? And it's almost been like nobody likes to change. Why should I get out of PowerPoint and use Visio? That's probably the question I'm going to ask you at the very end. But over to you on the demo, actually.
So how do we start this? Right. Oh, there we go. I think I'm up and running. Okay. Well, I see that was quick. So basically, I am going to introduce you into a bit of this Visio. So what I've got here are two different users. On the left here, I've got, well, it's actually a picture of my daughter, but she's now masquerading as a Visio and M365 user. And on the right here, it's a picture of my son, and he's masquerading as a Visio Plan 1 user. So that is an extra subscription to Office 365 or Microsoft 365. So basically, I'm just showing you that within the web, we've got the reading view of Visio, which is available to everybody, and you can make it public as long as your Visio documents are stored within OneDrive or SharePoint / Teams. You've got Visio and M365, which all business users of M365 got, and you've got Visio Plan 1, which is an extra subscription, gives you some extra features, as you'll see. Then we got Visio Plan 2, which gives you the desktop edition of Visio with extra power over and above what you can get within the other desktop editions, which is Visio Standard and Visio Professional. So on the right-hand side, I've got my little inverted pyramid here to show you that the least powerful is Visio and M365. Visio Plan 1 has got more power, but you pay for it. You've got the two desktop editions, and until you get to the biggest of them all, which is Visio Plan 2, which is a subscription edition. On the left-hand diagram, I'm actually showing the arrows connecting Visio Standard and Visio Professional to the online world in not quite full, because I think over time, Microsoft will cut those umbilical cords and you'll be left with just the web editions as we go through.
Is this going through the MS Graph API?
No, not currently going through the MS Graph. Microsoft or the Visio team has always been the poor relation, I think, as far as the Office apps are concerned. Rather like Project. Project's gone through a major revamp in things, and the Visio client is going through a lot of work. But what I want to show you is some of the cool things you can do, if that's okay. So if I was in Visio Plan M365, for example, I could just start up a new workbook in here, and let's just do DV demo 1, whatever I'll do, right? I'm creating an Excel workbook here. And one of the reasons I'm wanted to show you is one of the things that everybody who's got Excel online now can use this Office add-in, which is the Visio Data Visualizer. And that Visio Data Visualizer has got these choices that we've got here: basic flowchart, cross-functional, organizational chart. Let me just create very quickly here basic flowchart in Visio. All right. So we've got Visio here embedded within Excel online. Right, now to save myself a little bit of time of typing, I'm just going to copy and paste a little bit more into that table here and refresh this diagram, and we'll see that it's now updated from what we had there a moment ago. So this has now been created by an Visio and M365 user. Okay, the M365 user doesn't have the ability of editing this diagram in Visio, but it has been now saved within this document. So this user could now tell another user who's got Visio, full version of Visio, and I'm going to go over here now, and I should find that document here now exists for Klaus, who's now got this document here, and we can see here, and now he's got a Visio Plan 1 license. So we can actually create from that embedded Visio a Visio document and open that up, as we can see now, within Visio Online or Visio Plan 1. And once he's in Visio Plan 1, for example, he can do various things within that. For example, I could go to the design and let's change the diagram layout type. I could go into the themes and change the themes here, theme colors, and I can add into it, if I wanted to, maybe some text, put a title onto it. So I'm now within standard Visio Plan 1, right? So DV demo, right? And that, of course, exists now as a Visio document on its own. So I could go back in Teams here. Where was I a moment? I was in here, and we can refresh this diagram within here. If I refresh that, we should find that we're going to get updated diagram, as you can see coming through. So I've got here the Visio document that I just created, working now within Visio, within this container, the data visualize container within there. Now that data visualizer component is also usable within the desktop, where you can create two documents linked together, an Excel and Visio document.
So David, let me just stop you. So I'm showing my age a bit here. In the old world, you'd use an ODBC connector. Is that correct?
In the very old world.
Okay. What's the connection? The connector now is what? What's the connector on now?
Well, there is a. This is actually using the data visualizer technology within Visio, which can be exposed as an ODC connector if you wanted to. Now, it has got direct links available to not only here to Excel that we are using, which is the preferred one that Microsoft has centered on, but also to Access or SQL Server. And you can use an old ODBC if you're in the full desktop version of Visio as well. But you will see here, we've got this data visualizer link, which is a web-based service, which is linking together the diagram in Visio with what we've got here. Okay, so we have this link going between the Visio document and Excel, right? And they are majoring on Excel as an interface. But what I quite often do is use the Power Query to replace the content of this table and link it to Visio diagrams in that way. And of course, that Power Query can come from anywhere. All right. Can I show you a bit more about the collaboration then between Visio, co-working collaboration between Visio clients?
Please do.
Right. So let's just go back.
Very quickly, I'm assuming what you did in Excel, you could be doing this in Word as well.
Not quite. No, you can't create the org chart. The data visualizer Office add-in is not available in Word. It's only available in Excel. It needs that Excel table. Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. So let's say I'm a user here, and this is a Visio and M365 user. Okay, and I'm going to go in, I'm going to edit in Teams, for example. And I don't need to add any extra one. These are some of my custom shapes here, and it's game of checkers, which you might recognize. And maybe I want to invite Klaus to join this. So I could start a conversation and invite Klaus. I'll just go over to Klaus because he's there already. So Klaus is over on the other side. And I'm also going to go into edit mode over here and edit in Teams. So we've got two players got open simultaneously, and one is going to start over here, and you'll see that it's being moved over there. So I can move over there, and you can see I've got two people here working on the same drawing, basically editing it, and you can see that Klaus moved here, and then over this side I've got my Fabricam user is moving, and it's moving simultaneously over in the other browser over there. So we've got this ability of working side by side within Teams or within Visio Online, and to an extent within the Visio desktop as well. Yeah.
Yep.
And we've got the power of the shape sheet. You're not asking me what makes Visio special, and I would say it's the shape sheet that's behind every shape. is what makes it special. So, for example, when the game's finished, I can choose to reset the positions, and you can see it's reset it on both sides. And we've now can start a new game if we wanted to. So that is not using any scripts at all. It is using just shape sheet formulas. And the shape sheet behind every Visio shape is rather like an Excel worksheet. And you can put formulas into those cells just like you can within an Excel worksheet.
Understood.
Yeah? Okay. All right. As we're moving on here a bit, I'm going to show you even more power, I hope. All right. So I'm going to open up, if I get the right window here, I'm going to go to this one and go to my Teams window. It's not the right one. It's this one. So what's going on here? It's Power BI with two Visio diagrams and Power Apps all simultaneously in there. So this is an example of an org chart created in Visio, a floor plan in Visio. So the floor plan is definitely created within Visio Desktop, Plan 2, or Visio Professional, because it has got the right type of stencils within that, or templates within that, to create these scale diagrams. So that is completely to scale. This is something I used to do on a big scale for the merchant banks in London and New York, is link all the desks where people sat and the equipment they had to a Sybase database back in those days. Right? You remember that? Yeah. So let's say I want so let's say I want to find out where the R&D department is, so we can see them within the org chart, we can see them within the floor plan. If I want to go and see where sales team are, right? So I can see all the sales team there, or go and where's Miles sitting? So it's zooming in on Miles and showing me his position within the hierarchy, and also showing me where he sits. And over on the right-hand side here, we've got Power Apps. So all this is being linked back into a SharePoint list where you've got the information. So the Visio shapes can be linked to those SharePoint lists, and as can the Power Apps, as you can see there. So you could use this to edit the information, and you could refresh the Visio diagrams, because you've got this data link going through. You can refresh those from that data source as well, so you can update things in that way. So that's a small demonstration of, I think, of a great power of integrating Visio within the Power BI and using Power Apps as well.
Yeah, also, the other thing as well, you don't need the Visio. I'm assuming you don't need the Visio license or coming up here, do you?
Not for viewing, only for creating.
Yes.
Yeah.
With some of the stuff here, have you wrapped this up and put it in the Team store or anything, or is it not quite? It's not really a product.
It's not. A lot of this stuff I'm showing you, I do as consultancy work.
Yeah.
Right. I put some things into the store, and I've got Visio. I've got various add-ins. Some are free and some are not free on my website as well. On my blog, I explain a lot of these things and how they go together. For example, I've got a diagram here. This is the JavaScript API that's available for Visio, which you can use for creating Teams apps or SharePoint apps, for example. All right. I've got various things available on my blog and how you link stuff together and basically customize your work. But I do mentoring to various people as well around the world, as well as creating Visio-based solutions too. All right. But you'll see on my website, there are various things like the Shape Reporter is a free add-in for Excel to update the reports that you get, which were written a long time ago in Visio, for creating reports out of all those shapes, which have got data in them, into Excel, did in an old style table. And of course, Excel has been updated since then. So I've done this very quick converter, makes it into a modern table that you can use as a source for Power BI or Power Query, for example. And there are things like SS Plus, which is the slide snippets, enhances the export that you've got from Visio into PowerPoint, and adds in the capability of adding in some hyperlinks and some notes for each of the slides that you do create out of it. So that's all available up on the website. And there's various other things One thing we haven't mentioned, by the way, is the ability of creating rules for Visio diagramming, so that people...
What's that?
Yeah, there's a rules engine in the Visio desktop, in Visio Professional, and in Visio Plan 2, where you can write rules to validate that structure of your diagram, which is used a lot for process diagrams or maybe BPMN diagrams, for example. But you can use it for anything. And I wrote a book about that and created a little tool to help you to actually create those rules too. So you can validate the structure. And they can be written, those rules, a lot of those rules can be written just in XML, basically. So it's very handy and very powerful, I think.
Right. Yes. So very quickly, in terms of Visio, as I mentioned, I would say to convert people into the Visio world, they're probably die-hard PowerPoint people. Where's the sort of best way for them to start on this?
Well, always, I think a good place to start is with what you get for free, I think, and play around with it. So in Teams, for example, create a new Visio drawing in there, and I'll just give it a name, whatever, in there. And then you'll see the templates that become available. This is your default. You can search for example, for something like person. Confused person might be a good thing to have it, and in this case, another empty diagram. And you can start creating your diagrams within Visio for M365. You can see very quickly here. In fact, if you go to File New, you can see the templates that are out of the box there for Visio and M365 users. If I was to do the same thing for a Visio in Plan 1 user and do new, a Visio diagram, I'll just give it any old name there. Then there are other shapes available to them in there. And again, if you do into File New, you see you get a much longer list within there. So there's a lot of people out there, for example, who do want to create process diagrams or network diagrams. Azure, Microsoft have been good at creating a whole load of Azure stencils, for example. You can't get those in PowerPoint. You've got all the UML sequencing diagrams. You've got a whole load of AWS diagrams, if you want to go to that world, for example.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So there's a whole load of stuff in there for various parts of an organization. And that's one of the issues I found, is that a lot of people have used it. Maybe they've been doing org charts, maybe they're doing network diagrams, maybe they're doing facilities diagrams. And a lot of them don't share their skills between each other, which I think they should. Well,
yeah, I think I should. Yeah, because some of these charts that you're seeing here, you do actually have them in PowerPoint now.
You do, but they have got a limitation on what you can do and the customization. The smart art, if you like, or smart smart graphics within PowerPoint, I do like them, and will use them as well. But there's a limit, and they're not linked to data. I think one of the great things about Visio is its ability to link to data and create diagrams from data, or to be able to create data from diagrams. All right, so I think it sits in the middle there.
Well, yeah. Also, everybody sort of says, "Oh, I'm a visual person." I don't know why anyone would says that, because everybody's a visual person, And so you're right, when you see the data and you can see it being visualized better, then that's a big win.
Yeah. I mean, it's cliche, isn't it? It's a picture paints 1,000 words, but it's even better if that picture is linked to data which is refreshable and can be updated. And that's one of the cool things of embedding it, I think, within SharePoint / Teams, and having it linked to data, is that it can be refreshed and it can stay constant. All right, so it doesn't go out of date.
Okay. So here's a question for you. Do people import PDF files into Visio and then mark them up on that? Or is that not a good way of doing it?
It's not really a good way of doing it. For example, it can be quite as simple as if you're linking a Visio diagram and you just put it down, you had a piece of text, a unique identifier in some way within a Visio diagram. Right, I'm just going to just do an equivalent to new what I just did over there a moment ago. All right, and these are the templates that are in the desktop version of Visio, for example. And I just create a new one there, and you can see there's a whole load of stuff there, including, by the way, the ability of going out into Power Automate, and as an example. But going back to what you were saying a moment ago about how would you create a diagram in Visio and link it to data, when you put down a shape, if you give it a unique identity, whatever that unique identity is, whether it's done by text or it's done by using shape data that you can see here, given a process number, whatever, and that's linked to something in a database, stroke Excel table, stroke SharePoint or Teams list, then you can automatically link that data through to it.
Yep.
So it saves a lot of work, I think, personally.
In terms of, like, I know your career expertise is CAD, and so AutoCAD, is that tool still around these days, AutoCAD?
Oh yeah, it is, and it is one of the biggest companies for CAD in the world, and it's got various other things like Revit and 3D Max as well there, which is all part of the Autodesk company.
Okay, is Visio in that space, or is Visio not competing in that space?
You can import or embed CAD DWG files into Visio, and I think I've done that a lot. And within the desktop, you can scale it so that it's all the correct scale. Generally, the difference between Visio and those systems, they're model based, whereas Visio is page based. So you would basically be taking a slice out of one of those AutoCAD models, maybe using it as a backdrop in Visio and adding all the smartness that you've got within Visio, because Visio, I think in a lot of ways, is a lot smarter. And that's certainly why I moved from CAD into Visio, is the ability of having that smartness there.
Well, and also I think in many ways that's the Microsoft model, is bringing the technology to the masses. Like, it's just like for laymen or lesser mortals like myself, to be using AutoCAD, you forget it. It's a 5-day training course. But with Visio, you can get up to speed, and all I need is to map up the office layout. Okay.
Yeah.
And Visio can do that, or do the network diagrams. Visio can do that. And it brings technology to the masses.
Yes. Yeah. I think it's certainly, I think you can go from just playing with vector diagrams. That's another good thing about it, is that it is vector. So it doesn't pixelate as you zoom in, for example. You can go from just drawing into being an intermediate user using, in effect, no-code techniques to make some smart Visio shapes. And then you can get into my level, if you like, into a developer level and create full-blown solutions with it as well. So I think it's so adaptable and so flexible, personally. But then I'm biased.
Oh yeah, I'm just putting your chat. I know this podcast or this meetup is going to be on SoundCloud and Spotify, but I've just put your blog actually into the chat. So very quickly, where can we find you? Okay, is it bstudio.net is your
Visual. I should say this again.
Yes.
I went to do you remember the B Central days at Microsoft?
Yes.
Yeah, I was sat there in a B Central seminar lecture and trying to think of a name for my new company. And that's where I thought of Be Visual. Be smart, be clear, be visual.
Okay, yeah, very nice, very cool, very smart. I like that. You could have actually had the bumblebee thing, but yeah, I like the Visio on that. Very nice.
Yeah, so you can find me on my blog. You can find me on Twitter as Visio Rules.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you can find me on YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel as well with a whole load of videos up there too. So I'm in a variety of places, and on LinkedIn. Yeah. David Parker, Visio. I'm sure you put that into a web search somewhere, you'll find me.
Yep, I'm seeing UK-based independent visual consultant. Very, very cool. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm looking on your website. Do you do training services?
Yes, I tend not to do the basic training. I do custom training. Everybody needs a different need.
Yep. And also, you end up like competing with Pluralsight or LinkedIn Learning, and do you really want to be doing that?
No, and there's some excellent Visio learnings, if you like, by a good friend of mine, fellow MVP Scott Helmers, which I highly recommend finding those on LinkedIn Learning and going through those. He will take you to a certain level.
Okay. All right. Then, David, thank you very much for your time. Very quickly, where do you think Microsoft is going with Visio and M365?
to space and beyond. Yeah, I think they've got their hands full trying to get all that functionality that's in the desktop into the web, and that's going to take them a while.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And he says, one of the questions is I always ask is, where do you think you'll be in 5 years? You said still married, a digital nomad. Okay. What are you looking at? Like retiring down just like Cornwall, are you, or like everyone else in the UK?
I've got an Indian wife. It's got to be somewhere warm. Yeah. So.
Okay.
No.
Right. How long has she been living in the UK?
Well, since 72.
Okay, so come on, she's probably more familiar with the wet dampness of the UK.
Yes, doesn't mean she likes it. Yeah,
okay.
As you probably know. But that's what I want to be doing. Take my laptop and still working wherever we feel like going to, basically.
All right. And you have a book coming out on Packet soon, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got, as you saw, I've got a few books already. I've got another one coming out. We're currently writing called Visualizing Complex Business Processes with Microsoft Visio. It comes off the tongue middle of next year.
Right. Okay. Look forward to that. Okay.
Okay.
Send me when that's out. Hit me out, and I'll publicize it on my blog and on our LinkedIn network, or even you can do a part 2 of the Visio. When is next year? When next year is it coming out?
We think about June or July at the moment.
Right, okay. Because I have a few books published by Packet. I know the process.
Yeah.
You've got the acquisition editor, and it does take a little bit of time to get things, to go through the whole processing place.
Yeah, I've written 3 books before with Pact. So they seem to have got a smoother process. I've actually been over to their office in Mumbai a while ago when we were visiting the Microsoft Visio development team in Hyderabad. So we dropped in on Mumbai on the way back and went to see my publishers.
Well, didn't they have the UK, wasn't it, in Birmingham?
They've got a Birmingham office, yeah. But hey, I was in India. Why not go and see?
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, David, thank you very much for your time on this. And this has been a great session. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.